Picture this. You are 17 years old. The house is completely quiet. Your parents are in the next room, and lying right beside you, close enough to feel the warmth from his body, is a young man your family has approved of. The candle just went out. The room is dark, and the rule spoken out loud at the kitchen table. Earlier that night is simple. No touching, not no sitting together. Not no talking in private, no touching, because you are already in the same bed. This is not a story. This is not a scandal. This happened with my parents' full knowledge, their full blessing, and their quiet expectation that I would honor the rule even as everything about that moment pushed against it. I was raised Amish. And what I just described has a name. It is called bundling. Most people outside the community have never heard it explained honestly because the people who lived it were never quite sure how to explain it even to themselves. So what was bundling? And why did it exist? In the Amish tradition I grew up in, bundling was a courtship practice. A young man who wanted to get to know a girl would be allowed with the family's awareness to spend the night in the same bed. The physical setup varied. Some families used a bundling board, a long wooden plank placed down the middle of the bed. Some used pinned blankets. Some relied on nothing but the rule itself and the weight of community expectation. But here is what never changed. This was not presented as freedom. It was presented as a test. The young woman especially was being evaluated not just by the young man, but by her own sense of virtue, by her family's trust, and by a community whose opinion of her would follow her into marriage and beyond. The idea, and people genuinely believed this, was that if a couple could lie together in the most physically close situation possible and still hold the boundary, they had proven something real, that obedience ran deeper than desire, that was supposed to be the foundation of marriage. Whether it actually worked that way is where this story gets complicated. The first time it happened, I was more aware of my own breathing than I had ever been in my life, because here is what no one warned me about: the body does something under those conditions that no one had a language for. It sharpens, every sense becomes too alert. The creak of the mattress felt enormous in the silence. The narrow space between us, maybe 8 inches, felt both absolute and completely not enough at the same time. I lay completely still. I was aware of my stillness, and I was aware he was probably aware of it too. There is a specific quality to silence. When silence is enforced by a rule, not by comfort, it does not feel peaceful. It feels monitored. Every small sound becomes significant. And the rule no touching did not make the physical reality disappear. It did the opposite. You do not think about the wall until you are told not to cross it. And once you are told, the wall is all you can think about. Here is the paradox that no one in the tradition ever fully faced. The community believed genuinely and sincerely that strict physical limits would reduce temptation, that if the rule was clear enough, the closeness would become manageable, even spiritually productive, but that is not how the human mind works. A barrier does not erase longing. In most cases, it intensifies it. Restriction concentrates attention. The forbidden thing becomes more present in your mind, not less. What bundling created without anyone intending this was a situation where young people were regularly brought to the absolute edge of physical closeness, praised for not crossing it, and given zero honest language for what they actually felt while standing at that edge. The messages absorbed into the body were contradictory. Be close. Do not respond to closeness. Feel nothing. Your body is the problem. Your obedience is your worth. Young people absorbed these not as doctrine but as physical habit, as a way of organizing the nervous system around one central instruction. Closeness is something to survive, not something to inhabit. The wooden board eventually left the bed, but it did not leave me. Marriage is supposed to be the safe place where all that restraint finally makes sense. What many people from traditions like mine found instead was that the body had learned its lessons too well. The rule said no touching and the body obeyed. Then marriage came and said, you may now touch. And the body looked up with genuine confusion. because nobody explained how you unlearn a reflex that was once praised as virtue. People describe it in different ways: an emotional wall that goes up automatically in close moments, a difficulty separating attraction from guilt, a body that learned to treat its own feelings as warning signals, the invisible board. It does not announce itself. It sits quietly between you and the person you love most, and you spend years trying to understand what it is made of. Now I want to speak directly to you. I know this story might feel far from your life. The Amish world is specific. The bundling board has a specific name, but the pattern underneath it teaching people that outward compliance matters more than inner truth. That is not specific to any one community. If you were raised in any system where how you behaved in front of others mattered more than what you actually felt inside, this story is closer to you than you think. I am sharing this because the things that happened in silence deserved language, not to condemn, not to blame people who genuinely believed they were doing right, but because understanding what something cost is not the same as rejecting it. And if any part of this felt familiar to you, drop it in the comments. What rule from your upbringing are you still quietly unlearning? This conversation is bigger than one community. It belongs to everyone who was ever asked to perform their values instead of live them. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more of these honest conversations.